Alright, welcome into the next game, the second one of the replay series here. This is another game I played yesterday. This one is pretty sweet though, so yes, you can fasten your seatbelt for this one. And here's my opening hand. Keep in mind, I do not know at this point what I'm playing against, but this is a pretty nice opening hand. It's not as rampy as the ones we had last match, because I only have one Farseek, and I have both from Evil Titan and Scapeshift. Having two payoff cards is like one more than the ideal number, because, well, I usually only need to cast one of them. But sometimes you need to go Primeval Titan to get enough lands to go Scapeshift the turn after, so it's not like they're completely non-synergistic. What I'm really hoping here is that I just draw more lands and Farseeks. The good thing about this hand though is that I have some interaction, which work against different decks. So against humans and such, I'll have the Lightning Bolt ready for any like Major Thalia or something. And against any graveyard deck like Dredge, I'll have the Relic in my opening hand. So that's a really key pull towards this hand, and I think it's a pretty solid keep for that reason. And as you can see, we are playing against Storm. Okay, so against Storm, it's super lucky that I have both Relic and Lightning Bolt, because I need both of them to win this game. Storm is a pretty bad matchup. Like, they're a faster combo deck than me, because Valakut is kind of a turn 4 or 5 deck, and Storm is more of turn... Yeah, well, they can kill me on turn 3 if I don't have the relevant interaction. I can interact with them a little bit, but they also have Remand to interact with me, so the fact that they're faster and that they have better interaction than I have is not necessarily a recipe for success. But this game actually drew both the interaction pieces. So I need Lightning Bolt to kill their mana dorks, like Baral or Goblin Electromancer. And I need Relic of Progenesis to protect myself from the Past in Flames kill, which is by far the easiest kill they have available. But now I have both of them, and I can play a little bit of a defensive game. So here, I have the option on going turn 1 Mountain, and just leave that up, and attempting to bolt their Baral or Electromancer when they play it. Or I can play out a Relic right now. So the advantage to playing out Mountain is that if I just play Relic now, and they play a Baral, well then I will have to use my Lightning Bolt on my turn to kill it. But if I... sorry, I was distracted. But if I just leave up the Mountain and I can just Lightning Bolt in on turn, then I can untap and play a Farseek on my next turn. So the issue with going Mountain Relic is that I won't be able to progress my mana, because I'll be forced to spend my turn 2 casting Lightning Bolt. The advantage of doing it though is that if they don't have the mana dork right away, then I'm much better set up for later turns, since I have a pretty mana starved hand, and that way I don't waste the mana. Because if I just go Mountain Go and they cast 2 cantrips, well then my mana is wasted. Whereas if I just spend the 1 mana on getting the Relic into play, they'll set me up a lot better. So I'm gonna elect to go for the Relic. I also get to eat a Serum Visions right away. It doesn't matter that much that you eat away at that graveyard with Relic in this matchup, because all the cards that go into the graveyard that are relevant are gonna go in the same turn, because they're gonna go like Ritual, Manamorphose, Gifts Ungiven, Past in Flames. And like, those are the cards you need to exile, but they're all gonna come out in one turn. So the chipping away with Relic doesn't matter that much. Anyway, we get rid of the Serum Visions and see how that's going to play out. So Dick has Sleight of Hand. Oh, did I not? Okay. And another Serum Visions. So we were super rewarded for not leaving up Lightning Bolt. And, oh, yeah, okay. So I play my land drop. Always activate Relic as soon as possible. I should even have activated in my upkeep just for correctness sake. It doesn't really matter, but since this is the type of card where the opponent has the choice, you really want to limit their choices at all times. So I should just activate this as soon as possible, while they have the fewest amount of cards in their graveyard. So that they don't have the option to, let's say next turn they just play a fetch land and crack that, and they can exile that. So good practice with Relic is that you're not... Normally when you have like instant speed stuff, you want to wait on for soon as possible, for as late as possible, so that you might gain more options. But with Relic specifically, because they have the option, you want to give them as few options as possible. So that means using it right away. Even if they have something in their graveyard that you don't care about exiling, maybe they randomly do, and it can come up where it's just use your Relic right away. That's my point. Unless you want to keep it up to use it on yourself, which comes up against Surgical Extraction. It's a very corner case scenario. But yeah, against surgical extraction decks, sometimes you want to use Relic on yourself so they can't surgical you. Anyway, that was just an aside on Relic. So here I can again decide to leave up Lightning Bolt. One problem is that like they can go Baral, land, and then if they have 2 rituals and a Metamorphose and a Gifts and Given, I die. So they need lands, Baral, or Electromancer, ritual, Metamorphose, Gifts and Given. That's 6 cards, and they have 6 cards in hand, plus the draw step obviously, and the draw of Metamorphose. So they're not super likely to get there. And I think it's really important, since it's not like I'm in a favored position, because this matchup is quite bad already. I think it's fine to say, okay, if they have that not draw, I just lose. I'm just gonna tap out. Because I could protect myself from that draw by just leaving up Lightning Bolt. Instead, I'm gonna cast Farseek, and that means that next turn, I can cast another Farseek, and still leave up both Lightning Bolt and Relic of Genesis, and I'll be protected from the combo. So if I don't die this turn, I'm actually not that likely to die the next turn. And this is why I just play out my Farseek. And I search up Sheltered Thicket, because that's the one I least want to draw. Well, okay. Oh yeah, so they played Baral, and I got scared, and they played his Demons, but didn't take 2 damage. And that was a relief for me. One thing to note also is that they didn't take the 2 damage, which means that we need 8 lands to have the Scapeshift kill. Which is very important in this matchup, because tapping 6 mana for Primeval Titan when you want to leave up Lightning Bolt and Relic to protect yourself is like such a liability. Okay, so they have a roll in play, but it's okay, because now I can just bolt it right away. Also note that I'm using Relic to exile the Sleight of Hand before I bolt the Baral, because I do not want to give them the option. And I just fetch main phase, so I don't get caught into any scenario where they put stuff in the graveyard in response to my fetch. And now, because we do another land, we can actually cast Titan next turn, but it's really dangerous to do so, because then I won't have Relic up to protect myself. So Titan is somewhat of a liability in the matchup. However, if they play a Mana Dork, another one, like another Baral or Electromancer, I might feel forced to, because Primeval Titan is a Lightning Bolt at this point. It can kill a creature when it comes into play. Because I can just fetch up Basic Mountain, and I get Valakut Stomping Ground, and I shoot for 3. But by leaving up the Relic here, I feel relatively safe. Obviously, like, they can still change together stuff and kill me, but at this point they're not. They are, however, leaving up 2 mana, which is Remand mana. So here I'm gonna go... Yeah, first I'm gonna activate the Relic, and I do that. That's a good job. And I should have talked about decision more. So obviously I have the option to just play my fetch land, play Primeval Titan, and my opponent's gonna be dead next turn. But this is super dangerous for multiple reasons. Like, one, I don't leave up my Relic, and second, they could just have Remand. If they Remand my Primeval Titan, I don't even have lethal next turn, and they just get to like draw an extra card and go off with all untapped mana, and I'm all tapped out. It's just horrible. So here my plan is to play Valakut. If I draw a Ram Spell next turn, I can go Ram Spell, get the 8th land and play Scapeshift, and that'll just be lethal. Or maybe I can draw a Bolt. It does kind of the same thing. One thing though is that I get a little bit punished by having this basic forest, which I did search up with a Winsome Teeth. I could have taken 2 more damage, and I think I actually should have just get a Stomping Ground. Because, yeah, I think that would have been better. Because then next turn I could just this is a mountain or a Stomping Ground. Like next turn I go Wooded Foothills, get mountain, and Valakut shoots for 3. Because I drew the natural Valakut, I'm gonna get punished for having this basic forest. So it's always something to think about when you're in matchups where the life total doesn't really matter. It can matter a little bit, but probably won't matter. Then it can be important to try and plan around drawing a natural Valakut. So yeah, with this deck there's a lot of thinking about like whichever lands you search up and how you sequence your lands and your Ram spells. It's not gonna like 90% of the time it might not matter that much, but at 10% of the time they do matter. Like it can really matter. It can just decide a game. So please be considerate of these things when you play Valakut. So my opponent here, I still have the Relic up, so I feel still safe, but obviously I know the Storm plays can do shenanigans. They're just passing the turn here, and I'm immediately thinking Gifts and Given. So I could crack my relic now and maximize the chances that I, can play my that I can escape you for lethal here. But I decided not to do that because if I then miss, then the Gives and Given is probably just gonna kill me. So here I draw Lightning Bolt, and that's interesting. So what I can do is that I can play my land and play my Weevil Titan, and I will have mana up to well, the fetch land can actually act as a Lightning Bolt, plus the Lightning Bolt in my hand is another way to kill mana dorks, and I have the relic open then. The big problem with that line is that I would only have the option of like either using relic or Lightning Bolt. So one thing they can do is that like if I go to try and kill their Baral, well then they can in response just like, let's say they play Baral and cast a ritual, I go to fetch, they're just gonna respond with casting more fetches, and they can sort of set up their mana in a way where, like, then I kill Baral, but, like, my relic might not protect me from Past Flames anymore, because they're gonna have that extra mana. So, sorry, I won't feel as protected. Another thing is that, yeah, well, I would just prefer to have 2 mana up. But I still want to, present lethal here. And especially if they have Remand in hand, I want them to feel forced to cast it. So, one thing I can do is that I can bolt them and then cast Scapeshift. But if I do that, then I'll kind of be in the same spot where I'm tapped out. So if they Remand my Scapeshift, then I won't have the bolt up. And then maybe they can, play around, like cast Gifts, and maybe they can then set up to get around my Relic of Progenesis. Because it's not like this card is a trump against Storm, it's just quite good. But what I realized I can do is that I can Scapeshift before I cast the bolt, and I can make sure to still keep up the mana. So normally, because Scapeshift asks you to sacrifice all your lands, well, it doesn't demand it, but what often happens is that I'm going to sacrifice all my lands and put 7 lands into play tapped, so I'll be tapped out after I resolve the Scapeshift. So if I cast Scapeshift, and one thing you can do is that I can float mana and then cast a Scapeshift, and then cast the Lightning Bolt. But if they then can counter it, if they can then Remand the Lightning Bolt, I'll be all tapped out. So I was trying to think about how to do this, because if I float enough mana so I can pay for Remand with my Lightning Bolt, well then I'll be tapped out. So if they just Remand my Scapeshift, I can, I no longer have 2 mana up on their turn. But what I realized I can do is that I can cast Scapeshift where I play my fetch land, I tap these 2 basics and my 3 other mountains, cast Scapeshift with a red floating, but don't tap my Valakut, very important. Because I don't need to sacrifice my Valakut. So I just sacrifice the 6 other lands and get 6 mountains. And I'll have 1 red floating and a Valakut up. So even if they decide to let my Scapeshift resolve, and then plan to Remand my Lightning Bolt, they can't do that. Because I'll have a red in my mana pool and a Valakut up. Obviously, if they have double Remand, that's a problem. So that's the line I end up going for, where I present lethal and force them to use Remand. Because also, if they cast Remand this turn, they can't cast Gifts and Given. So I'd really like to force them to have Remand here. So I plan to do that exact thing, but I mess it up, and I end up not floating the mana from the Shelter Thicket, because I should have tapped the mana first, then cast Scapeshift. But what I'm doing is that I'm just going straight to casting the spell. So there's a long time where I'm just sitting here sweating that my opponent doesn't have the Remand. Because if my opponent has the Remand, and decides to just let me resolve Scapeshift and put them to 2 life, that's a big problem. Because, well, because I have to sacrifice this untapped land, and there's no room for me to generate the mana from that land now. So I only have 1 mana, and if they Remand my Lightning Bolt, I'll be tapped out and they can just go off. There'll be a 2 life, but they can just go off. So I have to sacrifice the other lands here, get the mountains. Oh wow, is it really clicking one by one? This is also how annoying it is to play Scapeshift online. Takes a little bit of time to go through all the triggers. But here's 18 damage. I can't Lightning Bolt right away though, because of the Remand. I have to just wait, and maybe they tap out for a Gifts and Given now. That's my hope. But otherwise I'd have to at least Lightning Bolt in their turn, so that if they Remand it, they have tapped 2 mana, and they have less things to go off with. But you can see here at the end step, they're just gonna tap their mana and cast a Gifts and Given, and that just leaves me the room to bolt here. So I ended up taking game 1 from Storm. It doesn't happen that often, but I had both Relic and Lightning Bolt in my opening hand, and was able to still progress my own game plan with the Farseeks, so that I can put a quick clock on them. Because even if I have Lightning Bolt and Relic, if I give them too much time, Storm can still win through that. But this game they weren't able to, and yeah, I'm pretty happy about that. Okay, so here's how I sideboarded before we cut to next game. So against Storm, I want the 3rd Relic, and I definitely want Damping Sphere, like these are the important cards. And cards that aren't that good are actually Primeval Titan. Because, as you saw that game, like, it was just a huge liability for me to tap out for Primeval Titan, as I can just die the turn I do that. Another big liability is Summoner's Pact. Because if I pact for Titan, and then the Titan gets remanded, and I'll have to pay 4 mana next turn, I can't even recast the Titan. Summoner's Pact is even worse. One thing Summoner's Pact does, though, is that it can turn into a ram spell to make my Scapeshift kill faster. So the thing I usually do is that I cut 1 Pact and 1 Titan. I really want... The Anger of the God might seem like not that great of a card, and I maybe prefer to have a Braid. But I think 2 mana is a little bit prohibitive for me to keep up when I don't know if I need to kill something. And Anger of the Gods only costs 1 more mana if I need to source, like, just kill a Baral Electromance on my own turn. But what often happens post-board is that you're just gonna bring in Empty Devorance and try and get you with that. So just having it out, like, I've definitely died to Empty Devorance enough that I'm gonna just leave in my Anger of the Gods in the deck now. And other than that, you might think that I should have Nature's Claim and Reclamation Sage to answer Blood Moon, but we saw that they didn't have any fetch lands, but they had Spire Bluff Canal, which tells... they also had the Snow-Covered Island, which hints to me that they're playing the Caleb Shearer version of Storm that doesn't play any fetch lands. And if they don't play any fetch lands, they don't have enough basic islands to actually play Blood Moon, so then this just doesn't play Blood Moon. Don't have to worry about it. However, against the other versions, I still don't really want to put any answers into Blood Moon. Sometimes I bring in 1 Reclamation Sage, if I have a hunch that they actually play the card. But still, other versions of Storm, they might not necessarily play Blood Moon. And the matchup is already so bad that I don't want to... Like, because I'd have to cut a Ram spell or something for that Reclamation Sage, and I'll just make my own clock worse in order to deal with a card that... I mean, I also have to draw my 1-off Reclamation Sage. It has to line up where I draw that card, and they have a Blood Moon, or obviously I can draw Summoner's Pact too, but you get the idea. Like, I have to have things line up right, but then I also have to, you know, still be able to defeat the rest of the strategy. It's just like, at some point you just have to say, okay, if they have Blood Moon, I lose, it's fine. Because it's already so hard to beat the rest of their deck, that I'm just going to focus on doing that, and then if they have Blood Moon, sure, I'm just going to go get lunch, it's okay. Like, we know what we're signing up for when we play Valakut. It's that sometimes you just don't have the capability to win every game, but that's not how you're supposed to play Modern. You're supposed to pick your battles. So yeah, I'm just sideboarding 2 cards. I had a point in time with my Valakut list where I wasn't sideboarding anything against Storm, because I had the 3 relics and my Lightning Bolt's main. It was pretty funny, but yeah, this is how you sideboard. Stay tuned for next game in a moment. Here we are for game 2 against Storm with the Valakut deck. We just sideboarded. And, oh look, I have both Relic and Lightning Bolt in my opening hand again. This time I actually have 2 bolts, so I feel better if they have like multiple mana dorks. My hand is not that ramp heavy though, but I have the interaction and that's definitely enough to keep. Also, like these types of... Because I just can't tap out for ramp that early anyway. Like, it's totally fine that my hand is not filled up with ramp spells. I'd rather prefer to just have a bunch of lands actually. So I can make sure to leave up mana. So here, I'm just gonna get the Stomping Ground. Definitely not getting a second forest, that's just suicide, but... I get to play out of Relic here. Again, I had the option of leading up Lightning Bolt. But I think the same situation applies, where... In case they don't draw the Baral, I wasted a mana in a hand that's pretty mana starved. So I'd rather just do this. And it's not even that bad. If they play Mana Dork, like they do here. Because I can still just Lightning Bolt it right away. I draw another Lightning Bolt, and now I'm actually... It's pretty sad that I have this basic forest, since it would be so good if I could play a mountain here, and just Lightning Bolt... Like, if they play another Baral, I could just Lightning Bolt it here. That would be perfect. But instead, just gonna be like this. Also, in the actual game, they had a big pause whenever I activated Relic, on their Electromancer here, and also in the future, which made me think they had Noxious Revival. So a lot of my thought process is informed by them possibly having Noxious Revival in hand. And I'm gonna, you're gonna see that play out already next turn. Okay, so here's an Electromancer, and alright, we luckily drew a Mountain, so now we just get to bolt that right away. Again, I don't want to tap out for anything, because I have just now, but now I get to leave up both Bolt and Relic. And here you see me wait until the draw step with activating my Relic. I'm not even sure if that's correct, because I have Lightning Bolt in hand. So if they did go for Noxious Revival on their Electromancer, I'd actually prefer for them to play it this turn, since then I get to use my mana well. But instead, they just cast Opt, and oh look, here's a Baral. Alright, so I get to Lightning Bolt that, and we draw Primeval Titan here. Okay, so now we better start ramping up, because we have not progressed our own game plan. But I've interacted with my opponent's game plan pretty well by just drawing 3 bolts to their 3 mana dorks. That's pretty lucky, plus the Relic, obviously. So still, priority is to keep up Relic at all times, unless I need not to. And here, because I'm thinking about Noxious Revival, I really don't want to cast Wood Elves here, because they can just respond by casting Noxious Revival. So what I'm going to do is that I'm activating Relic first, they exile the Opt, and now I'm like really sure that they have the card, and they're planning to put their Baral on top. So instead of playing Wood Elves, which, I mean, Wood Elves puts a land into play on tap, so I'm still going to be able to leave Relic up, but there's going to be just one moment with the Wood Elves on the stack, where I won't have any mana up. And if they in that moment cast Noxious Revival on Baral, well, I'm out of answers to that card. And like, the Mana Dork, even though I have Relic, Mana Dorks are still very scary. So I decided to just go with Sakura Tribal this turn, and then Wood Elves next turn. Also, I could think about attacking with Sakura Tribal here, but since I don't seem to have a Scapeshift kill, but a Primeval Titan kill, I will just get land here, and yeah, there's land of Wood Elves. It can start getting in for damage. Putting them to 18 is still relevant with Titan, but just not as relevant as when I have Scapeshift. Okay, so yeah, they had a couple tap lands here. Now they are leaving up Gifts and Givens, so I'm gonna be very aware of that. Where I also need to leave up Relic. So I activate the Relic there, and they do not respond with Noxious Revival. So now I'm thinking they might not have it, but it might be but obviously, if they're gonna cast Gifts and Given, they wouldn't even cast Noxious Rival there. So here I can tap out for Titan, but there is the issue of, well, they just cast Gifts and Given, and I'm tapped out, and they could probably just kill me from that spot. So I don't really wanna give them that setup. What I can do is that I can play Searcher tomorrow, and then next turn, especially if I draw land, but next turn I can cast a Titan and leave up 1 mana. The perfect scenario if I can leave up Titan, if I can play Titan, leave up 1 mana for Relic if I draw land next turn, and also leave up the fetch land. Because the Titan is going to set up my Valakut, which means that the fetch land is going to turn into a bolt, essentially. So, drawing an untapped land next turn would be absolutely perfect. But for now, we just wait. And they're going to cast Gifts and Given. And, gonna see here what they give me. Okay, here we are. Alright, so they choose Abrade, Gifts, Repeal, and Wipe Away. So I kind of expected them to find like 3 answers for Relic and something else. So at this point, I know they're gonna get an answer for Relic anyway, so I don't really care about that anymore. I do want to be able to crack my Relic though to just draw the extra card, because that will increase the chance that I hit the untapped land for Titan or hit more interaction. So I don't want to give them Wipe Away, because it has Split Second, and then I won't be able to sacrifice my Relic in response. So I give them Abrade and Repeal. There's a chance I might be wrong here, where it's actually better for me to give them Repeal and Wipe Away, because these cards just bounce the Relic to my hand and I can just replay it. But I don't think it matters that much, because they're not going to do it until like my end step before they plan to go off anyway. So the fact that I can replay my Relic doesn't really matter. The Repeal also is not very scary, because even though it says draw a card, if I sacrifice Relic in response, well, it fizzles and it isn't going to draw any card. I definitely don't want them to have Gifts and Given, and I think Wipe Away is dangerous too. Also, Wipe Away can bounce a land, and it can bounce Primeval Titan and such, so there's just I just didn't really want that to happen. So here I get the option where I can just crack my relic right now, since they're just leaving up 4 mana, so they leave up both repeal and upgrade, which means that the relic is not surviving, and I'm gonna be without a relic next turn. So I just have to hope that I don't die. I could crack the relic right now, which is gonna increase, like maybe I draw another piece of interaction. But the main thing here is that I can just set up with Primeval Titan to get the Valakuts, and then I'll have the fetch land ready here. So I don't even think I need to. I don't think I need to exile these cards because they're not that relevant. I draw another relic, and even if I play this, they still have both a braid and repeal, so they can deal with both of them. So I can attack for 1 here, put them to 18, which is a good number, as I've mentioned multiple times. And now I just get to play Titan and search up 2 Valakuts. This means that as I said multiple times now, the fetch land is the fetch land turns into a lightning bolt. I just thought about like why did he even mention as I said multiple times, because that's just such an irrelevant info. And maybe I should just stop repeating myself. I don't know. But this means that my fetch land is gonna turn into a lightning bolt, so I'm gonna be safe from a Baral. The problem is that they're gonna go a braid on my relic, and I have the option to crack it in response, but that would mean that I have to sacrifice my fetch land. And since I don't think that it's that important to exile these gifts from the graveyard, I am just gonna be fine with. I'm just gonna let the relic die, but make sure that I keep up the fetch land. That was the main thought about sacrificing relic at the end step, and I think that actually I should have done that. No, wait, no, actually not, because if they have another Gifts Ungiven in hand, I get really punished if I just go at the end of their turn, sacrifice the relic, just to draw that card. Because, well, then they're not forced to use their mana on a braid now, so they can just cast Gifts Ungiven again. But this way, I still threaten the relic activation, so they can't just cast Gifts Ungiven now. And they actually have to spend mana on a braid now, which is awkward for their mana situation. So now I am protected from a Baral, but they can still do the thing where they just respond with stuff. So I'm just gonna let this play out, and we can see if I die or not. They did not Metamorphose, which is a good sign to me. But here to go, Desperate Ritual, Splice Desperate Ritual. That's so dangerous for me. They do have 1 blue mana open as well. And here's Grape Shot. They remand the Grape Shot, and it's only for 3, so that doesn't seem that dangerous. But if they have like another Grape Shot in hand on top of the one they just remanded, it's actually not exactly lethal, because it's gonna be 6 and 7. But this Metamorphose means that 2 Grape Shots now is exactly lethal. So they play a tap land, and they Grape Shot my Titan. So I'm super relieved here, because this means that the other Titan I have in hand will just be lethal. Since I put them to 18, I'll have enough damage here, because Titan can get 2 mountains, which shoot for 3 each, so that's 12 damage, and the fetch land is 6 more damage. Here I'll draw another fetch, so yeah, I'm just gonna start by playing that out, and this is gonna be the end of it. So here I can even get Valakut Mountain, shoot for 9, and then each fetch land is gonna shoot for 9 in case they have some sort of response. And yep, that's how you beat Storm 2-0. I obviously have to sweat it on the last turn and hoping they did not have a kill, but at least I would be able to destroy a Baral or an Electromancer, of which they already drew 3, so they didn't even have that many left in that deck. And you can see like how annoying it just was for them that I had the relic, even though at the very last turn I could no longer keep it up since they could just destroy it. So yeah, it's a very like peculiar balance between spending the mana on interaction while still progressing my game plan, because I can't give them infinite time. But I think this was a pretty good showcase, and also, even though I bought it out at 1 pack and 1 Titan, I still ended up killing them with double Titan. So that obviously just comes up sometimes. You definitely can't trim on too many of these. Like I think 2 is the max number you got, because it is still a threat, and it still ends the game. You still need to end the game, basically, is what I'm saying. Because it's just that Primeval Titan is not that good of a clock, and I'd rather not cut any of my interaction or any of my ram spells. So I just think it's the worst card, but definitely in this matchup, don't oversideboard and don't cut too many threats as well. So Alright, that was it. The next games are gonna be live commentary.